Entrepreneur moms, if you have ever found yourself holding back in business because you're worried about how it's going to affect the family dynamic, then you need this conversation. I am opening up today and gonna share with you what it's really been like for my family as I have pursued business growth. Some of it's positive, some of it's not. But I think it's time that we get really honest with ourselves and we let go of the fear of what it could be and start embracing that it's gonna be a little of both. So if you wanna know what it really looks like to grow a multiple six-figure business while being fully committed to family, it's not always easy, but I am gonna share with you today what that journey has really been like for me. For all the tips that you need to grow your business and maintain balance with your family, make sure that you subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so that you can be notified when new videos come out every single Tuesday. Being an entrepreneur mom is not as shiny as it looks on Instagram. There are a lot of moving pieces behind the scenes that it takes to make everything work. And today, I'm not giving you how-to tips. Instead, I want to have a really honest conversation of what this journey has been like for me and for my family, and hopefully you'll find some things in there that will resonate with you and will help you to find a better expectation and feel like you've got permission to really move forward. So we are speaking to one of the most common fears that I hear from women who are starting their entrepreneurial journey, and it is, will being an entrepreneur hurt my kids? So mamas, I want you to have all the support that you need to grow your business and maintain that family balance. If you haven't done it yet, make sure that you click into the description and get access to my 30-day challenge. These are the things, what I built into that 30-day challenge are the things that I've done that over the years have had longevity and staying power to help me be able to find ways to be really super productive in business, but also make sure that it's not at the expense of my family. So go get that challenge so you can start having more peaceful productivity and stop feeling quite so torn between two places. All right, honest conversation. I actually tried to convince some of my older boys to do this video with me so that you could hear from them and not just hear from me what their experience has been like. I got shot down ×3. Every single one of them was like, I don't want to be on your YouTube channel. So that is one of the things that has been a challenge for my family is they're private. They don't want to be public. They don't want recognition. They don't want to be Insta famous or YouTube famous. Like the idea of doing a family vlog got shot down hard. And so they do not want to feel, while they are very supportive of me in doing my business, they at this point in seasons in their lives, they don't even really want me to take pictures of them. And they don't want to feel like our lives are being run only for the purpose of being able to take pictures and put them on Instagram and on social media. So I do respect that choice. I actually have really smart, well-spoken kids, and so I was hoping I could get them just to do this one video because I knew that they would have a lot of good insights that would be helpful for you, but respecting their choices. So let's talk about the negatives first. It has not always been this positive experience. In my early years as an entrepreneur, I wasn't even really making money. I did not have the skill set yet. So I was learning to sell. I was clueless about marketing. I didn't understand business structure. And so I was working with the dedication of somebody who would actually be making money without actually making any money. And it was that way for 2 or 3 years in the beginning, 2 or 3 years where there was really not any money to, let's be honest, there was none. Like I wasn't profitable my first 2 or 3 years in business, which is common. So if you're experiencing that, it's kind of common. Then I started to make money, and we hit this place where my business was a blessing because I was bringing in money, but it wasn't like substantial money. And so it was always this balance between, I felt like I couldn't really give my business a lot of time because it wasn't making a ton of money, but it was making money, so I needed to give it some time. And I think that was a really hard phase for my family because they didn't know what to expect from me. I would kind of go into this mode of work really, really hard when we needed money, like when something, unexpected medical expense had come up, or husband lost his job or something, and I would jump in and I would work super, super hard and like be gone all the time and just whatever it takes, we're getting it done. And then I would get to the point where we were okay, and then I would feel incredibly guilty for having been gone so much, and I would completely pull back and just be like stay-at-home mommy again. And so it was very inconsistent for my kids. They didn't really know what to depend on or what to expect. During those years, I didn't have any help at home either. And so because I felt guilty getting help at home, I felt like it meant that I was giving up on being a mom and asking someone else to raise my children. And so I felt guilty about it, so I didn't have any help at home. So what they got was a lot of distracted parenting. They didn't have my full undivided attention, hardly ever. And so I felt like that was a hard phase. It was really hard for me. Now, kids are very resilient, and as long as they know that you love them and they're safe, like they're pretty resilient. So they're not traumatized from that season, but that was very hard for me because I felt like I was never able to give them my undivided attention. So then I moved into the phase of accepting I'm going to have some help if we're going to continue to do this. By that point, my business was a solid contributor in the family. Like we couldn't get by with just my husband's income alone, and we were depending on my income. And so I remember the first time I sent my kids to go get babysat. They went 3 times a week during the day. My oldest was in school, and I felt so guilty. And I remember one day after like 3 weeks deciding like, hey guys, let's just stay home today. Like I'll just take the day off. We'll have a mommy day. And they were like, no, we want to go play with our friends. And it was then that I realized that they loved getting to go and be social. They didn't go for a lot of hours each day, but they loved getting to have time to go be social, play with their friends. They got to pack up their lunch, which made them feel cool like their older brother. And then they took their nap, and then I picked them up after their nap. And so they were like super happy to see me, and they got my full undivided attention when they got home because I had gotten all of my work done. And that was really a turning point for me for realizing that they need undivided attention. It doesn't have to all come from you, but they definitely need it from you. So that was a turning point where I realized, okay, having help is better for my children than me trying to do everything on my own. When I started letting somebody else clean my house for me, it was like, okay, so this is better for my family. And in the 2 hours that it spends them to get the house clean and organized, I can make more money than what I just paid them. So that was really a turning point for me. So when you see these successful mom entrepreneurs who are seeming to get it all done, I will tell you, if they are deep in the multiple 6-figure range or they're 7 figures, they have a lot of help. And you've got to stop kidding yourself that they're just magically super women who can do it all. They have help. They have teams. I have a team in my business. I don't currently have a team at home. And the reason for that was because my kids were getting a little entitled and they were getting a little bit like, I don't have to clean my room. The cleaning ladies will do it on Friday. It was like, nope. Done with that. So my kids do a lot of chores. I do have a team when it comes to taking care of the house. It's my family. They're the team. And I'm not saying that we won't change that again in the future. We hit a season where it was like, you know what, the kids are getting older. They weren't getting the skills that I felt like they needed to have, so we made a change there. I actually feel like I am ready to get someone to help in the house again because now they're a little older. They're really good workers, but they're also really busy. And so my team is not as dependable as I need them to be to get things done. So that's kind of a little bit of what the journey has been like, but I want to share with you some of the challenges. I do have a son, and I have 5, so that's a mixed bag of personalities. I do have a son that I truly believe would have been happier and better off had he had a stay-at-home mom. He does not like the chaos and the pace that my business creates. And by chaos, I mean things like he doesn't like when I'm out of town because it puts more strain on my husband and things don't run as smoothly. He likes consistency. He likes smoothness. He doesn't like bumps in the road. And so I think, truthfully, when I look at it, I think he would have loved having a stay-at-home mom. I have another son, my youngest, who told me this year that he thinks I'm addicted to trips. And he said, "Mom, are you addicted to trips?" And I said, "No." And he said, "I think you might be, because you've been going on a lot." And I've had a busy year for travel. And I was telling this story because to me this was a funny story. I was telling this story in church, and there was a man there that was like, "Oh, I bet that made you feel terrible." And I thought about it and I was like, it didn't make me feel terrible. And then it made me wonder, should I feel terrible? And so I have had definitely these moments where people around me don't understand our family flow. They don't understand that my husband and I work together in the house and that he actually has a legitimate job. Sometimes people interact with him like they think he doesn't have a job at all. Like he gets calls during the day all the time from people thinking that he's just available to go and help, which I'm glad that he is available to go and help, but he really does have a job. He really does work with me, and we really do depend on him. And so that's been a challenge sometimes, is people not understanding his level of contribution and kind of looking at him as the stay-at-home dad, which, yes, he's home, and yes, he's a really, really great dad, and yes, he does a lot of service, but that doesn't mean that he's not a contributor, like a really important contributor and valuable in our business. So that's been a little bit of a challenge. There's been times where I've felt jealous of him because I have felt like while we equally contribute, his contribution isn't tied to appointments. You know, he doesn't have client appointments. He doesn't have speaking gigs. He doesn't have events. He doesn't have podcast interviews. And so his is more flexible. So I have sometimes felt jealous that he has more flexibility than I do, and it feels like he has more freedom than I do. So it hasn't been like a completely free thing where there's been no price to pay. And that's one of the things that I really encourage entrepreneurs to be honest with, is there is a price to pay. But you know what? There's a price to pay no matter what. You having a 9-to-5 job, there's a price to pay. You can't take care of your kids when they're sick without getting in trouble sometimes. You can't leave early to go on the field trip or go speak to the kids at career day, or, you know, there's a lot of things that are a struggle that you can't really do that I can do. So is there a price to pay? Yeah, I've missed 2 first days of school. One of them was this year. I missed a Halloween. I was doing a speaking gig. I was like, I've never missed Halloween before. I'm not at every single thing my kids do. My life doesn't revolve around them. It really doesn't, and it would if I wasn't working. Like, for the first time ever, I am volunteering for the band. My son's a senior, and I was like, well, I haven't volunteered yet. I should probably volunteer for something now. I'm not volunteering for the football team or the cross-country team or the other marching bands. Like, my volunteerism is small inside of their school activities. I'm not the room mom. I do like to go on field trips because I'm actually spending time with my kids, but I don't do a lot of stuff that would take me away from my kids for more time because I'm already away from my kids. So I volunteer when it puts me with my kids, but I don't volunteer for things that they're always asking for, that is like one more meeting I need to attend, or, you know, hours and hours of doing something that I'm not really going to be interacting with my kid with. So those are some prices that we've had to pay. But on the other side, there's also been a lot of benefits. Primarily having both me and their dad at home, I feel like has been the greatest blessing for our family. I feel like I felt like kind of a solo parent for years because my husband worked nights and he slept during the day, and he tried so hard during the weekends to be present. But when you're constantly exhausted, it's hard. So I feel like me giving them the gift of having their dad at home has been huge for our family. I also have seen my kids the older ones, no, even the younger ones, they're very confident speakers. They can get up in front of school and give presentations. They can get up in front of church and give talks, and they're really good at it. They are confident in going out into the world. Not all of them with sales, but some of them with sales, which, you know, I like. One of the things I really love to see with them is that they don't have the limited thinking that I did when I was their age. So I remember I grew up in a big family, and we were not poor, but there was like my dad's paycheck, that was it, that was it. So we had to work within that. There wasn't this opportunity to just make more money and do more things. Whereas in an entrepreneurial household, there is. Now, I've had to teach my kids that I am not money bags, and I will not make money for them at the expense of me. So we're going to grow, and we're going to grow at a pace that honors me, and there's limitations to how much stuff I will pay for. And so they've all developed the mindset of, if there's something that they want, that there's a way to get it. And I love that. That's a great skill to learn earlier in life, because I was 30 before I really got that I could have anything I wanted that I was willing to work for, and that there was always a way to make money. So last night, two of my kids both have multiple trips they want to go on this year, and they're looking at like $600 to $800 that they need to earn. And so they were sitting at the table last night discussing all of their different ideas for how they can earn this money, and talking to each other about how you can't jump in on this because you're just trying to steal my bucks. And it was fun to watch them really think through, how can we do this? Whereas a lot of their friends are appalled that their parents make them earn their way to these things, and they just don't pay for it. But we have 5 kids. That's a lot. A lot of their friends have 1 or 2. So it's a different ball game. And when I was that age, I just didn't even ask to go, because I knew my parents couldn't afford it. We had a big family. I knew that they couldn't pay for everything. And so I just didn't ask to go. Whereas my kids look at it and everything is on the table for them. And then they choose what they value enough to work hard for. So I love that. Another win for my family, this was a mantra that I had years ago, long before it was true. I would tell myself, we make decisions based on what's best for our family, not based on what we can afford. And being an entrepreneur has truly given us that. Now, it does not mean that we spend on everything and every single opportunity that comes our way. But what it does mean is that we really look at things and we decide, is this good for our family? Is this right for our family? And if it is, we find a way to make it happen. And if it's not, we let it go. And it's not this thing where, when I was growing up, I always felt like money was the deciding factor. So if it didn't happen, I was like resentful towards the money. If it did happen, I was like, oh my gosh, we had the money to do that? And it's not a money conversation. It's a what's right and what's best for our family conversation, which I love. I'm grateful to be in that spot. Another big thing that I like, which I know I have talked about in videos before, is that my family is learning to sacrifice for each other. And I think that's an important part of having healthy relationships that's lacking in our society right now. Our society is so highly individualistic, and we value the individual to the point where we're losing the understanding that we sacrifice for each other. So you've got people not having kids because they don't want to sacrifice their lives, and you have people, which I'm not criticizing, but for me, like, kids have been a great sacrifice, but they've also been a great joy. You've got people who don't work through the hard times in their marriage because it feels just like too much of a sacrifice. My husband and I have worked through some really hard times in marriage, and our relationship is so fulfilling to me that I just want him to live until he's super old so we can do all of our lives together. And so they're learning to sacrifice. I hope that they're learning to sacrifice for their spouse and learning to sacrifice for their kids. They're definitely learning to sacrifice for their parents, and they're definitely learning to sacrifice for each other. And they have an understanding that together we each do things to make it so that we can all succeed together and we can all reach our goals. But that you can't be selfish. It just doesn't really work because they don't have a mom whose life revolves around them. Now, are they central in my life? Absolutely. But I also have my goals and my dreams and my passions. And I'll tell you this, I am a happier, better, more positive person when I am doing things that I love to do. And it's a balance. I have had years where I felt like I was just working to make money, and I felt like I was working harder than I wanted to, and I was missing more than I wanted to. And that wasn't healthy for us either. But me not doing the things that I'm passionate about is also not healthy for us. So I'm a better, happier version of myself and more positive, and my mindset's in a better spot when I'm pursuing things that I care about and that matter to me. I also make a lot of sacrifices to be at their stuff. I don't want to make it sound like I never go to their things. Every day after school, I am at somebody's stuff. I drive every day to pick people up. I attend, I would say like 80% of their things, but I don't attend everything, and I pick the things that are important to them. So like I go to the concerts, but I might not go to every single football game where they play the same marching band show that they play every single week. Like it's the same show, it doesn't change. But I make it to like, you know, at least the most important competitions of the year. I go to, like yesterday I went to the football game, but I didn't go to the whole thing, but my son wasn't going to play in the whole thing. He is not first string, and so they play him at the very end. So I was there, I saw him play, but I wasn't at the whole thing because I had another kid that I had to do reading time with. So it's this juggling, right? Like everything's constantly in motion, and I do the best that I can, but it's not perfect. The last thing that I want to share with you is that you don't have to be a huge success in order to be a success. And I think sometimes we put a lot of pressure that we've got to be, you know, this big, hugely successful, everybody's got to know our name, we've got to look like we've got it all together from the outside, but you don't have to be that level of successful in order to be successful. I'm not that level of success, but I am successful. And I think we need to embrace the level of success that we're at, and that really works with our families in order to not have it be a negative. Now, I will say that you could absolutely have your business be a negative for your family, but it's not one or the other, right? It's not either like it's perfect for my family or it's terrible for my family. The reality is there's 100 million different outcomes that could happen, and you're in charge of it. So my last piece of advice or wisdom I guess I would give to you is be committed to both. Don't have it be one or the other. It's never been an option for me for it to be one or the other. I've always been committed to both. And I really think that's why we have the level of relationships we have with our family, and we have the level of success that we have in our business. So I hope this has been helpful for you. Again, not teaching points today, just an honest conversation. So let me know if this has been helpful. If you'd like to see more content like this by leaving me some comments, tell me what's been your biggest thing that holds you back when it comes to your family. I'd love to hear from you as well. So if you haven't done it yet, make sure that you go and download the 30-day challenge. It's my guide to peaceful productivity. It's honestly just the things that I have learned over the years that when I do them and I follow that flow, I have much better balance and I get a lot more done versus feeling like I'm frantically running from one thing to the next. So download it, use it, tell me how it's going. And if you would like to be a part of a community of like-minded entrepreneurs, make sure that you join the CEO Spot. It's our private Facebook group where you can ask questions and engage. And I'd love for your support on the channel. Subscribe if you haven't yet, especially if you made it all the way to the end. This is one of my longest videos. So subscribe to the channel, get plugged in, and I hope to hear from you in the comments. Thanks you guys for watching.